The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Just when you thought we were done with Covfefe, this weird thing that Donald Trump tweeted at this point, I guess a few weeks ago, it's back. And it's back because Georgia drivers have been trying to get the word Covfefe on vanity license plates. Different states have different rules about vanity license plates. Vanity license plates are when rather than just getting some random number generated by the algorithm of, 3 numbers and 3 letters or 7 numbers and letters, whatever, right? Massachusetts, California, they all have their numbering schemes. You can basically request a custom license plate. And sometimes people request a name. Sometimes people make some kind of joke or they want a specific number like, oh, I just want the license plate 22 or something like that.
Yeah. And when you talk about those single or double digit license plate numbers, those can be very, very expensive because you're talking about maybe a 5-figure price on those.
Is that true? Yes. I had no idea. I just assumed that if you got a vanity license plate, if it was available, it was just some set price, like $100.
No, I mean, you do have to pay extra for it, but it depending on how much in demand they are, those can get very costly.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, Covfefe apparently also in demand, but Georgia has decided that it is not going to be allowed. You are not going to be allowed to put the word Covfefe on your license plate. It also banned Covfefe with a 0 instead of the O because it's basically the same thing. Covfefe with a 3 instead of an E because that's sort of the same idea. All combinations, all roads that lead to Covfefe have been banned. I don't get why. Like, it's not offensive or vulgar.
That's the thing. If this was offensive or some sort of profanity, you can see why they wouldn't want to have that on a license plate.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's politically charged a little bit, but I think even Trump supporters can laugh at Covfefe, right? Because
you would think
that ridiculous.
It's certainly not offensive. And a spokesman for the state's Department of Revenue, which oversees the license plate functions there, didn't respond in time for the articles that were written about this in terms of why is Covfefe being banned here. A spokesman said that they're aware of the issue, they're looking into the issue, but had nothing else to say at the time. A version of the banned plate list provided by the Georgia Department of Revenue in 2013 to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution described a bunch of plates that had been applied for and which had been rejected. And of course, nothing Covfefe related was there in 2013 because that was pre the age of Covfefe. It didn't exist until May 31st of 2017 when at 12:06 a.m. Donald Trump tweeted, despite the negative press, the constant negative press, Covfefe. So we don't really know why it's being blocked.
And people were quick to jump on this too. I think within a day or two of that tweet being sent out, in around 23, 25 states, people were requesting Covfefe on their license plate.
Yep.
And that's pretty clever. I would jump on that if I had thought of it.
And in some states, it's been allowed. There have been other states where people got Covfefe often with a 0 instead of an O. That seems to be like another way of doing it. And in some states, apparently in Nebraska, it's been approved. Just no problem at all. But it's in Georgia that you can't get your Covfefe license plate.
That's fascinating. Now, would you get a vanity license plate? Cost aside, you know, would you do that?
I mean, I guess I would in theory, except for 2 reasons. Number one, I tend to lease cars, and at least in Massachusetts, my understanding is that when you get a new lease, it's not like when you buy a car and you can just transfer your plates. My understanding is you need new plates every time you get a lease. I don't know if that's still the case. It used to be. Number 2, I don't really want my car to be that identifiable. And if you have some kind of very noticeable license plate, especially if, like in my neighborhood in Boston or when I go out to Western Mass, it would make me very identifiable, and I don't want to attract any attention.
You think people may take pictures of it if it's really that interesting?
Maybe.
My concern with a vanity plate is what if I had just committed a crime and I'm trying to get away?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for people to remember some simple word than it is a string of numbers.
Definitely.
And, you know, I do this hit and run thing all the time. I don't want to get caught.
Right, yeah. You're regularly on the bad side of the law, as we like to say.
Sure.
All right, so anyway, if you're in Georgia, don't even try Covfefe. Okay, United Airlines, yet again, having problems. There's a mom from Colorado who's angry with American Airlines because she says that her baby started to become overheated. They had a delayed flight out of Denver International Airport in Colorado. They were sitting on the tarmac, and it was during the heat wave late last week. The baby started to become overheating and started to become overheated, I guess is what I'm saying. And she is displeased with how United Airlines responded, saying that they made her wait a full 2 hours inside of the plane before she ultimately requested an ambulance. And then it took an additional 30 minutes to get off of the plane. She says they were not equipped to handle it. They couldn't evacuate us. It was chaos. And doctors say that the kid is going to be okay, but the mom is not happy. And this starts to get very difficult because in principle, so when there's rules about, at least in the U.S., how long you can make passengers wait with the door closed, but without taking off.
It's right around that 2 hour mark, too.
And I believe it's 3 hours.
Okay.
And so with 2 hours of a wait, plus another 30 minutes before the ambulance was able to get to them and get them off, you were very close to that 3 hour limit. My understanding is that with most of these commercial planes that you would see at an airport like Denver International Airport that United would be flying, when you're at the gate with the door open, the plane is connected to what's called ground power, so the air conditioning will be on. It usually is not as powerful as when the air conditioning is being run by the engine. It's sort of like if you're sitting in your car, you can still have your AC on with the engine off.
Sure.
But it's basically just a fan. It's not really cooling. And the ground power is better than just having the fan on, but it's not as powerful as actually having the engines on. You leave the gate in the process of transferring power and getting the engines on. You usually, if it's hot out, start to get a little warm on the plane until the engines are started up and the AC really comes on full blast. If you're sitting on the tarmac for a 2 hour delay, to save fuel, airlines typically will not have both, or depending on the plane, all four engines on. And that's why it starts to get warmer and warmer. They typically will have like one engine on for taxiing. And if it's at idle, it's not really going to provide cooling power. If it's 90-something degrees out, it's going to quickly become very, very warm. So the airline is basically following procedure on all fronts, right? They're using one engine to taxi because they know they've got to wait, more than likely. They had not exceeded the 3 hour limit of how long you can have the door closed before taking off. They didn't really do anything wrong. And yet, this still led to a horrible situation.
Some credit to the flight crew because it does seem like they showed a little bit of human judgment here because they let the mother and child off of the plane for about 20 minutes before letting them back on. Problem was that another delay occurred thereafter.
Yeah.
And they also provided them with ice, I guess, to cool the baby down. But you really had to do more than that, especially because you had 2 hours leading up to that, and people really knew that this was not going to end up well. Very disastrous story, but luckily the child's going to be fine.
Luckily the child's going to be fine, but more bad press for United Airlines. My brother was visiting. He lives in Los Angeles now. He was visiting last week, from 2 weeks ago to last week, from LA, and he had a nonstop flight from LA to Boston coming in. Boston's been resurfacing the runway of one of their airports, and as a result, or rather, one of the runways at the airport, and it's the runway that handles roughly half of the air traffic. So just insane delays getting in. His flight in from LA was delayed 2 hours. That was nothing compared to his flight out, which was delayed 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard, I'm not flying anytime soon, so I haven't really been following whether the construction is done with this runway, but it has been a disaster here at Logan Airport.
Well, welcome to Boston, and then you get stuck in 2 hours of traffic just trying to get to your destination thereafter.
Once my dad had arrived and he was leaving the airport, and right when you leave the airport, there's a tunnel that you have to go through.
Ted Williams Tunnel.
Ted Williams Tunnel. It's about a mile and a half tunnel or something like that.
Across from East Boston to the mainland of the city.
And it took him an hour and 20 minutes to make that hour and a half or mile and a half trek. It was just for whatever reason, total gridlock in the tunnel.
And a lot of people get claustrophobic in those things too. Yeah. They just can't handle it. Back to overheating, I guess.
It can be bad. Yeah. It can be bad. Okay, I actually didn't make the connection, but I sort of have another flying story, which is that a superstitious passenger delayed a flight leaving Shanghai, China for many hours yesterday because, for good luck, this elderly woman decided to throw coins at the plane's engine. And I guess this relates to some kind of good luck superstition or tradition in some aspect of Chinese culture.
Or like, you mean, we will throw coins into a water fountain because it's supposed to make your wishes come true, right?
Yeah, and I guess some equivalent of that being done for a safe flight, throwing coins into the plane's engine. And unfortunately, that resulted in the total disassembly of the plane's very, very large engine and a 5-hour delay for Southern China Airlines as a result of an 80-year-old woman who was just doing what she thought she should do for a safe flight, I guess.
Sounds a little bit counterproductive, though, because you're making that plane a lot less safe. If this was someone who was younger and there was some malice behind it, certainly they would face some stiff penalty.
Yeah.
But because she was 80 years old and probably just didn't know what was going on, what she was doing, she's not going to face any legal repercussions, which is a good thing, I would say.
And fortunately, China Southern was able to get their mechanics out. They took apart the entire thing. I guess of the 9 coins that she threw, 8 of them actually went into the engine from the report that I read. Pretty good accuracy.
It's also nice that someone else saw her doing this, because otherwise it would have gone unreported. And, obviously if one engine shuts down, you still have, 3 others?
I think this plane, I believe this was a two-engine plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you still have one more.
You still had one more, yeah. So there's that anyway, but not good. And like you said, police say that this was a woman who really thought she was doing the right thing. She considers herself a devoted Buddhist, and that this was just something she did. And because of good reasons. She had good reasons to do it, although they don't really make any sense, because throwing coins at an engine doesn't really bring you good luck if you are based only in the physical world, I guess we would say.
Yeah.
But because there was no malice, police say no charges for her.
What did humans do for good luck before the advent of engines and coins?
I don't know. They did other things.
Yeah. Apparently those things don't work anymore, though.
Right. Why can't we keep doing the things we used to do before we even had coins to throw in things for good luck? Like, if you're going to do things for good luck, you might as well pick the things that don't risk taking down a jet airliner.
Yeah. I'm having trouble thinking of those other superstitious things. Like, I know you're supposed to, throw salt over your shoulder or, not crack any glass because that's bad luck. But what do you do for good luck? I can't really come up with any examples.
I think it's just various prayer routines, right?
Prayers and coins.
Yeah. I wish I knew more about it.
Yeah.
In any case, watch out. It's always good, as they say, see something, say something. And here, passengers clearly did. And I guess you could also see one of the coins sort of on the engine, so that even passengers who didn't see the toss reported seeing the coins.
The question is, was she still willing to get on that plane despite the fact that
She
it no
did
longer
fly,
had
I
coins
think.
in the engine?
I think she stayed on the plane.
And it flew and it landed
Nothing
perfectly.
bad happened.
Okay.
Nothing bad happened
Very
for
good.
the plane. Okay, well, that's it for today. We've got a fantastic program coming up for you tomorrow. Welcome to all of our new members, including the 6 winners of the Incoherent Ranting for Free Memberships contest.
Oh, that was great.
Which went really well, actually.
Yeah.
People really liked that. And we have, I think we're going to have another free membership contest next week.
Okay.
But I don't want to say too much more about that. And if you're already a member, why would you care, right? I mean, you wouldn't. So I'll say nothing more about it.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.